Hello, and welcome to Improbable Things. I'm J. Grace Pennington, and this is my podcast where I share 6 improbable thoughts before breakfast, which for this podcast means 6 thoughts about reading, writing, or just storytelling in general. So I have my 6 things ready, up early to record this podcast, so let's get started. So number 1, I know I mentioned that I had reached my goal of 50,000 words on my work in progress, the next book in the Firmament series, at the end of last month. And so when I reached 50,000 words, I still had some of the story left to write. And I basically got burned out by that, and just then I didn't work on it at all for like 2 weeks. And granted, I have also been busy trying to figure out all this YouTube stuff and work on audiobooks, and so I have been busy, but I also just didn't feel like doing more writing on it, so I hadn't done any for quite a while. But on Saturday morning, I had some errands to run, and I had some free points for free stuff or whatever at Starbucks. So I told my husband, just like, hey, how about if I just go out for like an hour, run my errands, and just like go to Starbucks and take my computer and write for a little bit. And he was fine with that. So I went and did actually do some writing, and that was good because I really want to get this finished so I can get a move on with it, getting it published. I think part of also what made me kind of lose motivation was just the knowledge that it's not going to get published this year. And so I was kind of like, I kind of lost steam a little bit. But I do want to get it out early next year so I can get 2 books out next year. So I need to get moving. So it's been good to have a break. And again, I really actually have not worked on it since Saturday either, but it was good to make some progress. And I think I probably have just a chapter left on it. And what's left is some pretty fun stuff. So I don't think it'll be difficult. I just need to force myself to sit down and do it. So maybe I should make a goal to get that done before the next time I talk to y'all, which actually that'll be 2 weeks because I'm taking next week off for Thanksgiving. So surely I can do that. Surely that is a goal that I can meet just fine. So stay tuned for that. So number 2, one of the things I have been working on with my YouTube channel is getting my series, How to Do It All, up on YouTube. And that's been really fun. I just got episode 2 up yesterday, so there's 2 up there now. And basically what I've done is just take the content that I wrote originally for Kindle Vella, and interestingly, I decided to do this before I knew that Kindle Vella was getting shut down, so good timing, I guess. But a lot of people had asked me when I started that project if I would also do it as an ebook, because a lot of people don't like Vella, which again, I think I've said, as a reader, I don't love it either. And I still may do an ebook at some time, but I felt like it was some really good content for YouTube because there are some, good length episodes, and it's some, just general advice on, productivity, goal achievement, stuff like that. I thought it could do well on YouTube, and I'm trying to get more content there so I can get more subscriptions and more views so that I can monetize my channel, as I believe I've talked about before. So I have recorded 4 episodes so far, gotten 2 edited and up there. I'm kind of trying to do 1 a week, hoping to record a couple more later this week, if possible, if my recording place is available. And so, yeah, I would love it if any of y'all check those episodes out. And again, please do subscribe because I need subscribers. So if you are willing, that would be awesome. And if you watch those, I hope it's helpful to you. Some of it, actually, the one that I just put up yesterday is also some content that was originally recycled from this podcast. So that one will be familiar to y'all already. It's just one I've talked about. Instead of telling yourself you can't do something, what would be more honest? Because usually it's not true to say we can't do something. So is the truth that you don't want to, or that it's very difficult, or that it's not the right choice right now, or whatever it is, And I got that originally from this podcast. And so then turned it into Vella, and now it's on YouTube. So, but there's more stuff coming, and I think it might be encouraging to other people that are just busy, like me, that have a lot of other things going on, but still have goals and things on their hearts that they want to work on and achieve. And so, yeah, just please do check those out. So number 3, I spent some time this week also getting ready for the big Black Friday book sale, which I always look forward to every year. It's just such a great opportunity to, get some of, well, I discount all my books. And so all my books will be 99 cents or less for Black Friday through Cyber Monday. So I've been working to get those uploaded to the Black Friday sale site, and just making sure all the descriptions, everything's updated on my books, and that I'm ready to discount them, set them as free, whatever I need to do. So I've been doing that, and there's so many books included in that sale. So if you haven't checked it out before, please do the Indie Black Friday book sale. I'm sure I'll be sending something out about it as well, but yeah, it's a good one. I don't even remember how many, but hundreds of indie books, all clean, all independently published, all 99 cents or less, I believe. So yeah, definitely worth looking at. I really enjoy participating every year. So number 4, I may have said before that our library schedule is that we go to the library every 3 weeks. I pay for a book list that we get that sends us every week 5 children's books that are pre-approved as being, appropriate. And so I'll go through that every 3 weeks, put whatever is available at our library on hold, and then every 3 weeks we go to the library and check them out. And so that's been a really fun system for us. Excuse me, sorry. But and a lot like the books are good, like 90 to 95% of them that we get from these lists I've really loved. Like, she does a great job. It's the Library for Littles, is the name of the business. But sometimes, and this is not these books, this is just kids' books in general. Sometimes I feel this way. I'll read a book to my kids and I'm just like, okay, what was the point of that book? Like, why? Like, I don't get this at all. And I'm sure it's just, I guess kids' books are not supposed to be the same as, or necessarily have the same goals and intentions as a book for, older people. I don't know, but sometimes I'm just like, what is this? So I don't know. So we read this book called Stanley's Secret, and it was fine. It was cute. It was just this little boy that's like shy but loves to dance, and then he never lets anyone see him dancing, and he's really quiet, and then someone sees him and he's so good and they want him to dance for the talent show. And so I'm like reading this book, like, okay, this kid loves to dance, like, what are the obstacles going to be? Like, somebody's going to make fun of him and then he's going to have to learn that, that doesn't matter, or like, I don't know, something, or he's going to like, I don't know, just something will happen to like, what's the word? Like, impact his confidence negatively, like something's going to happen that he's going to have to overcome. But basically he just like gets up the courage to dance for like a couple more people, and then they like it, and then a couple more, and then they do, and then he does the talent show and he does great and everyone likes it. And then he's a dancer and everything's great. And I was just like, what? Why? I don't know. It's just like, I guess I'll talk about this whole thing a little bit more in a little bit. But I'm like, there has, like, especially like if you're trying to teach kids that like you should overcome your shyness and like share your talent with the world, which is kind of what it seemed to be, what seemed to be the message. But like, that's not going to go smoothly, like, ever. So, I would think you would want to portray some kinds of obstacles. So anyway, I was just like a little frustrated with this book, just purely as a writer. And then there's been a lot of like some classic children's books too. I feel this way. Like, I read Paddington. I'd never read it growing up. And then someone gave it to us, so I read it. And then I'm like, okay, what in the world was the point of that story? Like, they find this bear, and then they take him home, and then he falls asleep. And I'm just like, there's no plot in this book. Like, nothing happens. Like, what? Like, just why? I don't get it. Why? I don't know. So, yeah, this is my unhinged rant about children's books with no plot. And not all books are like this. Like, you have, even like you take Cat in the Hat, and, he comes and he makes a mess, and then it's a big mess, and then he has to come clean it up. And so, there's problems, there's a solution. Or you take like Amelia Bedelia, and she misunderstands all her instructions, and then they're mad and they're about to fire her, but then she bakes something really great, and then they decide that they should keep her. And I'm not saying it's like world class, Nobel Prize winning literature, but it's like, there's a point to it. So I don't know. There's obstacles, there's conflicts. So yeah, maybe I just don't. Maybe I don't know if I'm right in my assessment, but I find that frustrating. So number 5, my currently reading, or more accurately, just finished. A couple days ago, I finished my book for book club, which is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. And it's young adult, and I had never heard of this author or this book, but I liked it overall. There were some things I didn't like, but I think it will make a very interesting discussion, because I already know that at least some of my friends have had mixed feelings about it, and I definitely think it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. So, which should always, makes for a great discussion at book club, so that should be good. But I think for me, part of it is just I like anytime that I end up picking a book and can't put it down, because that is just not true of every book. And it's true less and less as I get older, for whatever reason. And so when I get that experience, I just love just that, no matter what else about the book. But also, like, it's young adult. There's some like dramatic young adult romance. There's big twist ending. There's sadness that made me cry, but also has a point and meaning to it. And I like all those things. So I feel like I was just predisposed to like this book, and not everyone will be. And there were things that bugged me about it. Some things with the writing style that I found confusing. Some things I can't talk about because of the twist, which I liked overall, but there were some elements where I was like, that was a bit much for me. So, and I didn't understand the title, really. Like, I don't know, it just seemed a bit off. But overall, I did like the book, and I like a big twist ending. Like, so there's a bunch of things in it that I already like a lot. And again, I felt like it had meaning, and it made me think about, some things. Again, I don't want to get into it too much because there's a big twist, but it made me think, it made me feel, it got me sucked in. So that's really mostly what I'm looking for in a book. So I'll be really curious to get into the discussion and see other people's thoughts. But again, because I don't think, so there are lots of people that don't like the sort of dramatic young adult style and romance, and don't like sad books. So I don't think, again, that everyone is going to love it. So we'll see tonight how that goes. So number 6, I've been thinking about, there's a sort of principle in fiction writing where you're supposed to make sure that every scene has conflict. And that's something I tend to struggle with in my writing. I can be bad about it because I don't know, sometimes I just chicken out. I just want my characters to be happy. So I'm like, let's just let them have some peace for this scene. And it's something I am trying to actively work on, making sure that there's some kind of conflict in each scene driving the story forward. It doesn't have to be overt, it doesn't have to be dramatic, but there has to be something. And I saw a really kind of funny but good example of this when me and my girls last week, we watched the movie Rescuers Down Under, which was a favorite of mine when I was a kid, and I still really like it. It's a great movie. And one example, rare example of the sequel being better than the original. So, and then one of my girls is obsessed with Australia. So I was like, hey, I know a movie that's all in Australia. Let's watch it. So it's a great movie. And there's one scene in particular I noticed that did a really simple but great job of following this principle. So if you haven't seen the movie, the bad guy is a poacher who wants to capture this beautiful golden eagle. And because there's a little boy who knows where the eagle is, the boy won't tell him, so he's kidnapped the boy, but the boy is still refusing to tell him anything. So he has the boy locked up in the back room. He goes out in the main part of his like horrible house and needs to figure out how he can convince the boy to tell him where the eagle is. So that would be really hard to make a good, interesting scene about him just thinking about that, right? Trying to figure that out. So he talks through it out loud to himself. He's saying like, oh, the boy knows where the eagle is, but the boy doesn't have any, weak spots except the eagle, and I can't find the eagle, so I don't know what to do, blah, blah, blah. But he's not, instead of just standing there talking to himself, he's making himself some eggs for his breakfast. But he's also not just making himself eggs, because that wouldn't, at least that gives him something to do. But again, no conflict there. There's nothing like happening really plot wise, or not even plot wise, but just like conflict to like pull you through the scene. But what they have, he has this like giant lizard sidekick. And when he brings out the eggs, you see the lizard kind of perks up and gets all excited. And she goes over. And so there's the whole time he's doing this scene, he's talking to himself, and he'll have this big like carton of eggs on one side of himself on the counter. And the lizard like sneaks around and secretly grabs one, and he realizes what she's up to. So he puts the eggs over on the other side while he keeps talking this problem through to himself. And the lizard, distracts him and sneaks another egg. And then, they just do this little thing back and forth. At some point, he slams the lid of the egg carton down on her hands. Like, it's just this whole time there's this battle between them with the lizard trying to get to the eggs. And you can't really see what's in the carton for this whole scene. So then at the very end of the scene, he opens up the egg carton to finally get his eggs to cook them for himself, and it's empty. The lizard has managed to get all dozen out during the scene. So that's like a funny moment. And then it gives him an epiphany about how he can use the eggs of the eagle to trick the boy into telling him where the eagle is. So I was just watching this scene like this is such a great example of this principle, because they needed to pass along some information in a way that's going to keep you interested. And so they have this conflict, and again, it seems unrelated, although, it makes sense. He's trying to make himself food. Pet wants the food, they're fighting over it. But then it also does end up working into the plot with the whole egg thing, and the eggs give him that idea. And so I was just like, this is brilliant storytelling. And again, it's really simple, but I'm like, that's the kind of stuff that needs to be in, especially those kinds of scenes where there's not like a natural form of conflict. Someone's just thinking, processing, trying to figure something out, trying to think through something, trying to work through something, or just two people talking, like stuff like that. Sometimes you need those. Like, it's important for characters to have that time to talk, to process, to think, whatever. But you can't have a scene without some form of conflict within the person, between the person and someone else, related to what's going on, unrelated to what's going on. There's so many different kinds of ways you can do it. And again, this scene was just an example of that. And it just got me realizing, like, I need to make sure of that when I'm writing, when I'm editing. I need to look at each scene and say, hey, what's the conflict here? Like, what is the battle? Whether it's immediately obvious or whether it's, some subcontext or whatever it is. It needs to be something there, some tension that's drawing you through each scene into the next and through the entire story. So, just a great illustration of that principle. And again, Rescuers Down Under, just a great movie. So thank you all so much for listening this morning. Love, as always, to hear from you. If you've watched any of the episodes of my How to Do It All series. Would really love your thoughts and comments about that. Are you planning on doing any Black Friday shopping? And if so, will it be in the indie book sale? Let me know your plans. What do you think about kids' books that have no obstacles? And what do you think about the idea that, not only every book, but every scene in a book should have some kind of conflict? And what do you think about, if you've read We Were Liars? Really would love to have a discussion about that. So again, I would love to have any conversations about any of this or really anything else with fellow story lovers. So feel free to get in touch and let's talk. So thank you all again so much for listening. Hope that everyone has a great day and a great weekend ahead, and stay improbable. Bye.